Last part, I made a joke that we're going down under to Australia, but as it turns out, we're actually in some nasty subterranean town called the Under. I know, it gets confusing. You know, I heard a rumor that everything in Australia wants you dead, so if there's any Australian viewers, please confirm or deny this in the comment section below. Well, back to the game. What are we doing here, you might ask? Apparently, this is where Cipher runs their operations, and being as they've killed a total of 4 of my Pokemon, I kinda have a bone to pick with them. So, I guess the residents of the Under are on lookout for a couple of spies, but that's definitely not us, right? I'm not spying on anything. I'm just trying to dismantle a large criminal organization town by town. What's the big deal? Yeah, I'm tough. At least, I think I am. I mean, I've made it this far, right? Like, do Yanma and Plusle not scream out, tough trainer? So after exploring around the Under a bit, we're given a part from this one kid named Pear, and all of a sudden, we're on a quest to deliver it. I'm not sure why we're taking orders from a bunch of kids who live in a basement, but we don't exactly have a choice now, do we? And would you look at that, more evil scheming from the villains of the game, all through television screens. Good to see you again, Cold Eyes. So, we ignore whatever's going on with the villain side, and I enter this shop to potentially get some TMs to teach. Oh my god, this old man is having a heart attack. Someone called 911. Wait, does Australia even have 911? Alright, sir, I've called the only 2 police officers in the entire region. We're gonna get you some help. While we wait for the authorities to get here, I decide to check out what the shop has to offer, since I'm doing my best to buff my Pokemon's movesets, most notably Hitmontop and Plusle. So I buy a couple hidden power TMs, and I'm hoping that they end up being not totally useless in the long run, and I teach one to Hitmontop and one to Plusle. We leave the old man in the very capable hands of the shopkeeper, because frankly we have better things to do, and we make to this house where we meet a bunch of kids who are apparently also fighting against Cipher, because in the Pokemon world, it's normal for a criminal syndicate to be undermined by a bunch of kids. And apparently, these kids already know who I am, because, you guessed it, the news, we're famous, it's not a big deal, you know. We give them the machine part from Pear, and decide not to stick around and babysit. Unfortunately, the game has other plans, and we witness Silva being captured yet again. This is the second time in the last, couple hours of gameplay. Like, seriously? Alright, just to make it clear to everybody, Silva is not the spy. We're the spies. Silva is useless. Well, alright, actually useless is the useless one, but alright, I guess we're just gonna go save him. So, our encounter in the Under is probably the worst one we'll get throughout the entire game, being this Ledian right here. Cipher Peon Cloak and her stupid Ledian stand in the way of Suicune being our Under encounter. We already have a bug flying type in Yanma, and as much as it pains me to say it, Yanma is a way better Pokemon than Ledian. So even though we only have 5 Pokemon, I'm not even going to add Ledian to the party unless it becomes absolutely necessary. The Ledian actually adds negative overall value to my team, and does nothing but take experience that could otherwise go to another one of my better Pokemon. Maybe I'd use it for death fodder, but it's not worth it. During the battle, we also find out what hidden powers that Plusle and Hitmontop have. Plusle has hidden power Fire, and Hitmontop has hidden power Psychic. Hidden power Fire on Plusle will actually come in handy, as it hits grass types that we've been unable to hit effectively. Hidden power Psychic on Hitmontop is actually horrible, and probably the worst thing we could have gotten. But nonetheless, we take the free Pokemon as a backup, and move on and try to figure out how to free Silva. So, I spend a long time walking around the Under looking for different ways to potentially trigger an event, and I did not realize that we had to talk to him from the side to get the artist back. I kept trying it, it just didn't work for me the first time, so I was like, okay, this doesn't work, but after maybe half an hour, we finally figured it out. I go to the Colosseum, where this guy says that his Makuhita will take care of the spy problem. I flash back to how useful my Makuhita was, and yeah. Alright, big guy, you keep dreaming. Wait, we have to go up against Venus right now? I thought we chased her down a hallway or something. I was absolutely not prepared to face Venus at this point in the game. The last time I played this game when I was fairly young, so I didn't realize how soon after the Dakim fight she was. Okay, I guess we're fighting, and okay, why are her Pokemon so high leveled? Alright, time out. Hold on. Dakim had level 38s, and gameplay-wise, story-wise, he was only 7 trainers ago. I counted, I swear. Venus has Pokemon that are level 45. What kind of horrible balancing is this? So unfortunately, because we captured Ledian, we're unable to capture this Suicune, so we're not going to have a water type for the rest of the game. Keep in mind, all because I was irresponsible with the Quagsire, all the way back in part 1. Luckily, we have a much better matchup against Venus's team than Dakim's, and despite the higher levels, she's actually much easier to deal with. So we end up defeating her, and we move on. In the room where Venus is, there's actually a chest with 3 rare candies, so that's going to come in handy late game. Okay, I guess now we chase her down the hallway? So we chase her into this room with a large staircase, and a couple trainers. And since it's technically considered a new area, we get to catch the first Pokemon we encounter. All things considered, we actually get one of the better encounters this area has to offer with Gligar. When I initially drafted my strategy for this run, I didn't think that we'd have a spot open in the team to include Gligar. But since we're a bad Pokemon trainer and we have 4 Pokemon that are dead, we gladly add Gligar to the party. Being a ground flying type, he gives us an immunity to Earthquake, and a pretty good answer to electric types. He also has pretty good defensive stats, so I'll happily use him in this run. He's no Entei, but at least he's better than the Ledian we got earlier. And I have the perfect idea to purify this Gligar quickly and efficiently. So, we take a break from our regularly scheduled programming and return to Agate Village, where we get a Cologne case and pick up some Vivid Scents that'll unlock some of Gligar's moves. So, I guess we rub our newly acquired Gligar all over with a bunch of scents and unlock his moves so he's a little bit better? I don't know, if I was a Pokemon, my heart wouldn't exactly open to the idea of my trainer rubbing me down with Vivid Scents. It's nasty. While we're in Agate, I think it's time we finally nickname our Umbreon. As I'm sure you've noticed, all of my Pokemon have nicknames, and I've never really explained them. But with Umbreon, we name him Sharper because of this clip right here.
Darren Sharper, hold me there!
This is the first time we've had a whole team of 6, and it's about what I expected when I was first strategizing my run through the game. Besides, of course, no Espeon, Quagsire, or Entei. Alright, maybe it's not what I expected at all. I didn't think I was going to have to use the Yanma. Alright, guys, whatever. At this point in the game, we're going to have to start being a lot more careful. Because not only are they amping up opposing Pokemon's levels, they're becoming fully evolved. They have coverage moves, and they also have more status moves to throw us off. For instance, who gave this Dunsparce Ice Beam? Trainers are also starting to have a lot more strategy to their tactics, including the Protect Earthquake combo, a lot of status ailments, and weather-based strategies. Finally, we find a useful item to give to Umbreon. We give him the Black Glasses, and we also give the Quick Claw to Gligar. So you're telling me we chased Venus all the way down this huge flight of stairs through a bunch of trainers, and then she makes this big deal about having this key. And when she finally tricks us and finally gets away, she just drops the key on the ground. There are so many keys in this game, it's unreal. I mean, you have the jail key, the elevator key, now the subway key. It's a whole lot of keys to keep track of. So we use the subway key and head to the underground Cipher Lab, where, oh my god! You don't think that explosion was a little overkill, guys? Like, I know I'm a threat, but you don't need to destroy your entire facility just to stop me. That is pretty metal, though. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, these peons deserve a promotion. That was pretty cool. And the main gate key is right here? Seriously? Alright, I take back what I said about the promotion. You guys can stay peons forever. We take the subway back to the Under, and I go up the elevator to make it back to the Colosseum. While I do this, I realize that the elevator takes an absurdly long time, so I want to test something. Yep, as it turns out, taking the stairs to the top is actually slightly faster than taking the elevator. It's a great game design, Genius Sonority. We then use the U-disc we found to go get another Time Flute, and now that we have the main gate key, it's time to head to Cipher Lab, where we find 3 revives. Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Alright, so we're gonna need a card key. Given how this game treats keys, it should be lying around somewhere nearby. Are you kidding? The first trainer I fight drops it? So the first Pokemon we encounter in Cipher Lab is a Shadow Apom. It's not super exciting, but I have to say I'd still probably rather use an Apom over a Yanma or Ledian. I actually almost screw up and I Toxic him, so I put him on a time limit. But luckily he gets in the ball without any fuss, and we have ourselves an Apom. As we advance in the game, I decide now's the perfect time to try and buff our team a bit by training at Mount Battle. Last time we were there, we let an Entei slip through our grasp, but this time we're going strictly for grinding, just leveling up purposes. When you complete a set of 10 battles at Mount Battle, you get Poke Coupons that can be cashed in for TMs and items. Now, I want to get TM24 for Thunderbolt for Plusle, and TM19 for Psychic for Yanma. This is going to cost us a total of 7,500 Poke Coupons, so we're going to be at Mount Battle a while. As we progress through Mount Battle, the number of Poke Coupons we get for clearing each area increases. We do Mount Battle areas 1 through 5, which nets us a total of 2,100 Poke Coupons, but that's still not even enough for 1 TM. So after a bit of grinding, I purify Gligar and Apom, and I decide that I'm still going to use Yanma over Apom, just because he has a better moveset and slightly better coverage moves. So we actually run through Mount Battle areas 3 through 5 4 separate times, and we make 1,800 for each time through. So we finally have enough coupons to buy the TMs that we want. I kid you not, this part of the game absolutely took me the longest. You may think it's not necessary, but I think that getting strong moves that hit 100% of the time and leveling up my team is super important to the success of this run. For those of you keeping track at home, that's over 120 battles just for 2 TMs, just for Thunderbolt and Psychic. Yep, we're pretty dedicated. So you may be wondering, why did you only do areas 3 through 5? Well, 1 through 2 didn't give enough experience, and I only went up to area 5 because the area leader for area 6 has a Wobbuffet, and I did not want to mess with that. It's not worth all of the coupons in the world. This was seriously like a lot of hours of gameplay, so I'm not going to put it all in the video, because even sped up, it would take like half an hour. So now my entire team is up to level 52 besides Yanma, and there's one more thing I want to do before I head back to the lab and take it down. We head back to Phoenix City, and now that we have a team of 6, Justy will now fight me. We get past his preliminary trainers named Dugo, Liquid, and Botan. Seriously, they just named them after the types of Pokemon they have. And we take on the big bad pre-gym leader himself. The battle is actually fairly easy because of our extensive grinding session, but it would have been a lot more difficult early game because Justy likes to spam moves that increase evasion. Well, we beat him, and he gives us the TM27 for Return. Now, we teach Return to Hitmontop because it's a fairly good physical move, and it'll improve his moveset a whole bunch. Also, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to talk about this, but when I was a kid, I was somehow able to get Useless's character up the elevator and roam around underneath the pre-gym all by myself. I tried to recreate this, but to no avail. If somebody has any footage of this, please send me it. I swear I'm not crazy. I was able to just run around the bottom of the pre-gym and alone, just as the character of Wes. Like, it was wild. I was like, finally, I got rid of that girl. Anyway, back to business. So we head back to the lab with our buffed out Pokemon, and unfortunately, we still weren't able to get Brick Break from the Pyrite Colosseum. The levels are still a bit too high for me to feel comfortable taking my Pokemon into. As I progress through the lab, I begin to miss how Mount Battle would heal my Pokemon after every battle. Honestly, it just spoiled me too much. I got really annoyed running back to the healing thing over and over again. The DNA sample? I looked up a lot of things to prep for this run, but some of the minor things that happened still surprise me. I haven't beaten Pokemon Colosseum in probably like a decade, so some of the stuff is just all new to me again. And that includes this DNA sample. A DNA sample analyzer? I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I just picked random Pokemon on that little keypad thing until I got it right, because I remember it frustrating me a whole lot. So we get past that gate, and we bump into none other than Cypher Peon's Scrub, who has the same Wobbuffet that killed my Meditite. And, to add insult to injury, he also has his own Medicham. I was much more prepared this time around, and I was able to beat his team as the Wobbuffet was preoccupied. As all of this was going on, the alarm that has been constantly sounding. And the noise is actually super annoying. I'm trying to speed through this part of the game just to get it to stop. Uh-oh. Ein's right here. I guess it's time to fight. Please, anything to stop the alarm sound. I'd rather take on a Cipher admin than spend any more time in the overworld. As I battle Ein, I realize that Thunderbolt basically washes his entire team. and I'm glad I took the extra time to buff out my team before we fought him. Interestingly, after beating him, I realized that none of my Pokemon have fallen to a Cipher admin. In fact, they've fallen to a Misdreavus, a Dunsparce, and a Wynot. Maybe they should be the bosses of the game, huh? So, after the Iron battle, we actually get two pretty big rewards, being TM26 for Earthquake and the Data ROM, which we have to deliver to Net in the Under. Finally, the alarm noise stops. I actually ended up having to hear it more than I wanted to, just because during the game I had to pause to write things down for this post-commentated script, which made it super annoying, because even when you hit the start button, even when the menu pops up, it's still going in the background. It was driving me absolutely insane. So there's talk of this Realgam Tower opening up, and thus the final area of the game is open for us to enter. We have a lot of tough battles ahead of us, so I want to make sure my team's totally prepared before we go in. So as we're nearing the endgame here, I decide that Hitmontop's moveset has suffered enough. We're going to get Brick Break from the Pirate Colosseum. I think my team's ready. After the first 3 battles, we make it to the finals of round 1. Keep in mind, we have to make it past all 4 rounds just to get this 1 TM. What could go wrong? Oh, come on!